tell us why you haven't done an ultramarathon in a while, if there's a reason. Like, where have you gravitated towards these days in your running career?
So yeah, I guess like from 2018 is when I've kind of like found this other zone in life, which was I bought a house that was like a total disaster.
Fun.
And yeah, I did want this. I wanted this experience of like fixing up an old house. Like for some reason that was like a big dream of mine. And when I found
Cool.
this house, I was like, oh yeah, I guess this is
it.
it. Like, it doesn't look like much, but I wanna do this. And I had no concept of like how much time, how much energy it would take. So 2018, 2019, like was all about like getting this house livable. And then it was like fixing the yard because it was like even the yard was a total disaster. Like, and then after that, I was converting our basement into an apartment. And now I'm done. I'm done with this house as of December 2023.
Oh, nice, dude.
So I have this like,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. And so it was like a 5-year thing. That I ran during all that, but I just didn't have the energy to dream about running. I didn't have the energy to be like, I want to do this race. I want to do that race. And that's finally starting to come back to me.
This is your host, Brendan, and you're listening to the Ordinary to Ultra podcast. This podcast is all about helping you run your first ultramarathon and beyond. Tune in to hear new and experienced ultra runners share how they got into running in the first place, what inspired them to run an ultra, training and race day tips, and the gripping story of their first ultramarathon. Prepare yourself to be inspired as you hear stories of grit, sometimes failure, but ultimately triumph when our guests finally cross the finish line. Welcome, Brett, to the Ordinary to Ultra podcast, and thanks everyone else for listening. And Brett, thanks for being here, man. I'm super excited to get into your story, and I'm just super excited you're here. Brett is the owner of Territory Runco, a fantastic trail running brand that I'm a big fan of. I'm wearing his hat right now. I love his hat so much. I just happened to have it on because I was running this morning and I put it on because it's my go-to
There you go.
running hat. Yeah. Anyhow, so Brett's amazing. He's an outdoor enthusiast, trail runner, and he has a brand for it, right? Which is pretty sick. So anyway, thanks for being here, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brendan. I'm super excited to chat and talk about what we love to do.
That's right. And before we get into Brett's story here, Brett's awesome and is willing to do this cool giveaway with Ordinary to Ultra podcast listeners. I'm going to let him explain what that is, and I can explain how to enter.
Yes, we have 5 brand new caps coming out this summer that we're launching over the next couple of months. But those 5 caps will be in the giveaway. So we'll have 5 winners, each winner winning one of those caps. Some will be unreleased by the time that we do the giveaway. So it'll be extra special to get an unreleased Territory cap.
Ooh.
Yes.
This is a big whoop. I'm telling you. I'm excited. I'm going to be hitting your site as soon as those release. I should say too, on my side, I love Territory Runco's brand. A lot of brands out there are like super, I don't know, gnarly feeling, like, grit, like, yeah, go out performance. Yeah, I don't know, like Nike sort of feel maybe. But Territory's brand is way more like, let's go out and have fun in the mountains feel. And I love that. And also the hats are just fantastic. super lightweight. I can throw them in the washing machine when they get all salty because I'm a salty sweater. The designs are fantastic. Anyway, the hats are fantastic.
Cool. Thanks,
So
man.
definitely, yeah, thanks for making an awesome product. And yeah, listeners, check out his hats and enter this giveaway. The giveaway is going to be linked in the show notes of this episode. So just head to the show notes on whatever platform you're listening on and click that link that I will have there for the giveaway, and then you can enter to win. Sick. Now that we've got that out of the way, the intro, I would love to get to know you better, Brett, and your running history. So, Brett, whenever it was, why did you get into running and when?
Yeah, I got into running in high school. I was 15 years old, and there's a little bit of like history there of my family. My dad had run a couple of New York City marathons at that point. I'm from upstate New York, and I ran with him maybe a handful of times. That kind of left an interest, and also like I was just in this like post middle school. What the fuck am I doing? kind of atmosphere of like, I don't know what I'm interested in. I don't know what I like. I just didn't have anything going on. I played baseball as a kid, quit baseball after 8th grade. So it was like high school was just kind of like wide open, and I was very like confused on where to go from here. And I had a friend who just joined the track team, and I just was like, all right, I got to do something. And it was the best decision of my life. I mean, I often look back at that decision and I'm like, man, if I didn't make that, like, I mean, maybe I would have found running eventually anyways, but it just did so much for me, especially at that age when you're so, insecure and you just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Awkwardness and it gave me so much passion, direction. Yeah, I remember thinking like when I first discovered running, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe people don't know about this. Like, like everyone talks shit about running, like in media and people who played other sports, running was punishment. And I'm like, people don't know how great this is. Now I look back at it, it's like, no, like that was me finding a passion. And maybe that's how it feels to find a passion that's unique to you. But yeah, that's how I first started and just jumped into track and cross country in high school. It was a little bit of a love-hate thing with competition because I was not like excelling in terms of like comparing myself with my peers. So like competition was sometimes a letdown, but the act of running was always like this amazing, beautiful thing for me. Didn't run in college and then started running like half marathons post college.
Okay. Before we get there, I'm curious in your track days, like what you were running. Were you like the short distance guy? Were you the cross country guy?
Yeah, I probably would have been best as like a 400, 800 guy, but I didn't realize that until my junior year of high school as I was trying to run like mostly like in track, it was more the mile. But yeah, cross country always ran 5K in high school. But yeah, I learned to really love the 800 meter junior and senior year of high school. That was my jam. Yeah.
Good for you, dude.
Yeah.
Sprint. Now I look at sprinting and I'm like, no, that is not the way. It's not for me. But props to you.
Yeah, and that's so like a lot of high school boys will break 5 minutes in the mile. It's like a pretty like it's I guess like a standard maybe. And I ran a 5:05, and now I wish I could have been happy with that because like the 5:05 is pretty freaking fast. But at the time, I was like, comparing myself just with the other kids in my team, and I wasn't there. But I still had this like desire in the back of my mind to break 5 minutes in the mile. I'm turning 40 this month. I'm like, time is dwindling, man.
The 40. It's okay, man. You probably
Yeah.
lived a fantastic life. It's
Yeah.
okay. That's what I try to tell myself when I reach those milestones. It's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Dang. Well, thanks for explaining. Your track days. Yeah, you started early. And then you mentioned like college. So you weren't doing track in college. You didn't
No, yeah,
do
that
college
kind of like competitive
athletics.
letdown side that I was talking about, like
Yeah.
pulled me back from competing in college. So I just kind of ran on my own in college, just doing my own thing, not really doing any races or anything. But then as soon as I finished college, I started getting into half marathons.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Half marathons. What spurred you at that time after college to start doing half
Yeah,
marathons?
the New York City Marathon. I was trying to get into that throughout my college years
Okay.
and couldn't get in. It was just like a lottery that, it's a
Oh,
big race
okay.
and it's hard to get in. I got denied 3 times, so I got guaranteed my fourth try.
Hmm.
And I was actually after 2 years after college, I took a gap year, I guess you could say, and I traveled in New Zealand, Southeast Asia, and South America. And um, when I was in South America, I was starting to train for the New York City Marathon,
Hmm.
and that was cool. Like just seeing like random places in South America from like the training
Yeah.
perspective. But yeah, then got back home to New York and started doing a couple half marathons to as part of my training, and then got injured like 2 weeks
Oh.
before the race and didn't run it. So,
Oh, are you
and
kidding
I
me?
finally ran the New York City Marathon in 2017, like
Oh my heck.
9 years
Years
later.
later.
Yeah, yeah. So finally checked it off, but it took a while.
Dang. But that's
Yeah,
what got you back running again.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
were you we didn't talk about trail yet. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
your youth, you were road running, track running. Um, were you trail running at all at this point with this
Yeah, we totally were trail running. We just didn't call it trail running. Just didn't.
yeah, you
We
were
just thought
just
it was
running
running. Yeah, I mean,
out in the woods.
exactly. Yeah. So my high school, we were really fortunate. We had a state park, a New York State Park, like that butted up against our high school property. So we would just run out to the state park every day, and it was all trails. Um,
Huh.
so yeah, it's just kind of like it just became a natural part of running, and um, I didn't necessarily like um, gravitate towards it early on, but when I moved to Portland, this is after being in New Zealand and really getting into like backpacking and hiking, and then
Mm.
coming to Portland and realizing, oh, you could put all this together, and it's like being in the outdoors, going into more like epic places. Like the state park in New York was just trails. It was nothing like crazy like what we find out here in the West. So when I realized I can combine like epic views with running, like that was an amazing realization. It's like, oh yeah, I could run these places.
Dang. That's really I got a comment that I feel very similarly. I've been hiking my whole life. My dad was into hiking, so we've been hiking forever. I never ran. Um, but then when I started running, um, a year or two ago to get fit, I was like, hold on, I like hiking and I am getting into running. Why don't I just stick these together so I can get to the top of mountains faster and enjoy my
Right,
views
right.
and get a better workout in? I don't know. Anyway, I love that. I mean, that's why I love trail running so much.
Mm-hmm.
You get those awesome views, the nature, plus a workout, the flow that you
Absolutely.
get in running. Yeah. Sick. Um, all right. So you didn't run the New York City half marathon, and you did way later. Probably you were well into running at that point. Was there any notable running adventures or races or stuff that happened after that
Yeah, I
failed
mean
half marathon?
well, that was the full that New York City marathon.
Oh, that was a
That I
full.
was yeah
You're
I was
doing the
like
full
I was doing
marathon.
half marathons like to train for that
Oh, I
full. But
see.
yeah. So
Cool.
after I moved to Portland, started getting into trail running, and then did my first trail race, which was a trail half marathon in Bend, Oregon, called the
Hmm.
Dirty Half, and that was my entry into trail, and that was the hook, you know. Um, Bend is a really cool community. It was like a pretty big race from what I remember. Like it wasn't a small race like um, kind of like I became used to after this race. Bend has just a good sized trail running community. Um, but yeah, like wiped out like 3 or 4 times, like
Oh, dang.
in that race. Just you know, first time running a trail race, you're just pushing and excited, and not used to all the routes or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just tired and just went down. But
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, man. It was like exactly what I wanted to be doing, and um, after that, it was probably just a few months after that, a friend of mine approached me about doing a 50K. So that was my first time considering doing a 50K. And at first I was like, yeah, I don't know. That seems like a lot. And well, specifically because he was from Montana, and he
Uh-huh.
stumbled upon the Bighorn races in Wyoming.
Oh,
So it was the
yeah.
Bighorn 50K, and at elevation, which I hadn't really done anything at elevation at that point. But I was like, yeah, what the hell? Let's do it. So,
Dang. That was your first 50K from a
mhm.
friend. Had you like heard about ultra marathons before that point? Like
Totally.
what?
Yeah. So I was working at a running shop um, my first couple of years in Portland. And it's funny, like looking back at it from the outside, like there was definitely a lot of like buzz about ultra runners just being kind of crazy.
Yep.
It's just like the people I worked with at the running shop were mostly pretty much they were all road runners, and some of
Hmm.
them ran marathons. But then you have this perception of someone doing 50K as crazy, and it's just a funny thing because it's not a big jump,
Nope.
but for some reason in people's minds, you're crazy if you're doing 50K. But yeah, there was that perception from the outside, and at that time, like 2011, 2012, yeah, I guess there just wasn't anyone in my circle doing ultras yet. So it was kind of like this distant thing.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it was a growing thing
Mm-hmm.
back then. Road running, I think, maybe was, had a firmer hold in those days. It seems to me that ultra running has really caught more traction the last 10 years or so, but
Absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. So you probably heard about ultra running as you were like working at this running shop and met some of those crazy. Did you size some shoes for those crazy ultra runners?
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
You're getting 3 pairs of shoes? Is that how fast you
I
go through your
remember
shoes?
it does stick out someone coming in and getting shoes for an ultra like days before the ultra, and
Oh
everyone in the
no.
store was like, "Oh my god, that's a bad idea."
Yeah.
But since then, I've met so many people who do that. Like I think
Oh yeah.
they're just used to their shoe. They know the shoe. They know it's not going to give them problems. So and they run so many freaking miles that their foot is just hard, and they don't get blisters. I don't know.
Dang. Interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you go with the same shoe every time,
Mm-hmm.
less risk, maybe.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it,
Interesting.
but
Yeah.
people do it.
Interesting. Don't do it. So your friend invited you to do Bighorn. How much elevation gain? Like, I know the Bighorn 100 is pretty nasty, but I don't know anything about the
Yeah,
50K.
it's been a while since I've looked. I want to say
Okay, look.
I think the biggest thing that it was for me was that it was at elevation.
Yeah,
The whole race is pretty high, and being in Portland, we're not running much elevation at all. We're
yeah.
pretty
What
much.
elevation are? Well,
Well, I
that's
mean,
like at coast.
we're sea level ish in Portland,
Yeah,
but and we'll run a lot the trails around here, and we won't. We'll go up a few thousand feet, but nothing. We won't be in like the 8,000s. Where I feel like Bighorn was up around maybe 6,000,
I got it here.
5,000.
If this is the same as it was then, it
Mm.
starts at 7,480. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's high.
that's a lot.
It's a lot higher than Portland.
Right.
Can I ask a question about Portland before we get more into it?
Yeah.
So is it like muggy and like humid running? Like I run in Utah, but like, is
Mhm.
it like humid running in Portland?
Not
And
not typically. Like when we run into this place called Forest Park here in Portland. It's like this amazing, expansive park within city limits. Um,
hmm,
you could feel humidity in there, but it's never like I'm from New York. In the summertime, it's humid there.
mm-hmm.
So it's not that's nothing like it's not a humid place. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I could like, yeah. I've run in humidity like on a cruise boat. I'm like I got to keep training even though I'm on a cruise. And yeah, man, like running in that humidity is almost as bad as like, well, I don't know if it's almost as bad as going from sea level to running in high elevation. It's a different, then you're getting altitude sickness, but it's way different running
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
hot, humid air. I was
Yeah, not
sweating
a
like
fan.
a freaking monster at 4 miles. I was like, I don't know if I can go longer than this. Anyway, so Bighorn, yeah, starts high. I don't know what elevation gain it has. Can't see.
Yeah, I remember. I was just stoked to be there, and I think that like allowed me to just feel good. And I don't remember having any issues with elevation, or it was just a great
Did you
time. It was
acclimate?
no.
You just showed up and it
That's
worked?
that's the other way to do it, right? Just show up, and go. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just remember meeting like amazing people during the race. Like coming from road running, where it's like you don't really talk to people that you're running with. You're going like at a pace during a road race it's not always conversational. In a trail race, I feel like it's a little more conversational. And I was just chatting with people, like and they're from just meeting people from kind of all over the states, and it was super cool. It was a different experience, and yeah, ultimately, I mean, after that race is like I left there with like this feeling of like, oh wow, this community is freaking cool. Like these people are totally laid back, and it's nothing like the stereotypes that you hear of, like, or that I heard about of from this running shop of like ultra runners being crazy. Like these people are not like what you think of in terms of like a type A kind of crazy runner. They're just chill. They're laid back. They're more outdoorsy. They're more like what I thought of like as like the rock climbing, snowboarding, surfing culture. And I was like, oh, this is where I want to be.
Sick. That's good to hear. um I totally agree with that, and I love that about the trail running culture versus road running culture. It may simply be, people are awesome. I don't judge people. But there is that vibe of like, yeah, like everyone's here at our road race to just get it.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't a lot of talking. It may just be that they're all pushing so hard that they just can't talk. And
Yeah,
maybe that's it.
I think that's totally. I think that's totally it. I mean, because that's what a road race is. The road race, you're not dealing with the elements. You're not dealing with typically. You're not dealing with a whole lot of elevation change in terms of like hills and mountains. So like you have like this litmus test of a flat road, and you have this bar that you want to hit in terms of time. So
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to focus on like not tripping all the time too,
right,
which maybe
right.
attributes to faster running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting notes. So before I ask you more about that 50K, did you find that you like at this time in your life you were doing more trail than road, and like you were kind of like shifting more in that direction, or did you like doing both?
Yeah, I
What
think
was
after
that like?
that first trail half that I did, I kind of like was all in. But yeah, I definitely still um, do training runs on the road, just close to home, like out my
Yeah.
door on the road. It's just more accessible. It's like even for me now, it's like a 15-minute drive to the trail, so it's like sometimes it's just like easier just to hit the road. So yeah, back then still doing a lot of my weekly mileage here and there on the road, but I would say more of the mileage was on trail for sure.
Yeah. That's about how it is for me. It's like if I can't make that 15-minute drive, then I guess I'll just go out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. For this 50K, do you recall what kind of mileage you're putting in for training?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
probably putting in around 35 miles a week. Yeah, I never
Okay.
did super high mileage. Yeah, I would say 35 is probably my average during that training block.
Solid.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay. On the 50K itself, um, I know this was a while ago. When did you say your 50K was your first 50K again?
2013.
2013. About 10 years ago, you ran your first 50K. Um, I'm going to ask you to recount as much as you can remember about that race experience. If you can remember how you were before the race even started, like in the morning, um, and then when the race starts, of course, and then anything notable, cool, terrible that happened during the race, until you cross the finish line. I'd love to hear like what that experience was like, how you're
Yeah.
feeling, anything that happened.
Yeah, I remember. The buddy and I that I did it with, we stayed in a hotel somewhere in Wyoming. I can't even remember where exactly it was, but I remember waking up and eating a hummus avocado bagel sandwich. I guess that was my pre-race meal at the time, and
Yummy.
definitely nervous about what I was doing. It was just a lot of new things. You're dealing with a new distance, a new terrain, the elevation, the altitude, all of that was new. So I just had no idea how my body was gonna handle it. So yeah, a lot of nerves, but yeah, I remember as soon as the race started, just settling in to a relaxed pace. I wasn't trying to push it early on. I knew I was dealing with a lot of novel um, variables, so I was just kind of taking it easy. Um, pretty sure. Yeah, the buddy that I was running with, like we trained a good amount together, and we were like pretty much the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was behind me from the start. So the whole race, I'm just waiting for him to like pop up and like be next to me. But yeah, like I said earlier, I was just meeting really cool people along the way. And that's kind of what stands out more than anything is just connecting with people, hearing their story, asking them about what their running journey has been like. And I just remember this one woman I met. She was like, taking a lot of ibuprofen. I think it was her knee was giving her problems. And I just remember thinking, well, that's a lot of ibuprofen to take during a race. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's how they do it in this sport. That's all good. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, I haven't brought back a lot of these memories in a while, but I remember just some of the climbs being pretty daunting. And as the day went on, it started to warm up. It was a really, really beautiful sunny day. And I remember being at the top of one climb and just some epic views. And I had, I don't even know what I had with me, if it was like an actual camera, because in 2013, I don't think I had a phone with a camera on it. So it probably was like a point and shoot camera, maybe. I don't know. But I think I took a camera out and was like snapping a photo. Again, something like completely different from, what I would have done in any other race. And the guy that came up behind me was like, "Oh, let me get you a photo of you." And that was just like this really like cool thing. I'm like, okay, not only am I stopping to take a photo, this guy is stopping to take a photo of me for me, So, and that was like, yeah, this one photo that I took away from that race is like, just like this really cool little piece, little image of me in the middle of this 50K at my first 50K. I want to dig that up. I haven't thought about that photo in a while, but yeah, just really cool to have a random person in the race stop and offer to take a photo of you.
That ain't happening.
Yeah.
In a marathon. I love it.
Yeah. And after that, I remember like kind of coming down and then kind of heading up towards the finish. And I started, the way the Bighorn race works is the 100-mile, I think they still do it this way. The 100-mile race starts first. Maybe the day before, the 50-mile starts some other point, and then the 50K starts after. And at the end, you start connecting with all of the runners. So the 100-mile runners, I was starting to connect with on the course, and that was just a pretty cool experience to like be out there with people who have been they're at mile like probably 90 or 95. I can't remember where exactly it was, and to like think I'm feeling bad for my first 50K, and to have that comparison next to me, I'm like, oh, I could do this, like to have that there in front of you, I think really gives you an extra realization that like, this is doable. Like if they're doing 100, I could do 30, So that was like a good energy bump. And then, then I remember coming through this, it kind of got like a little like neighborhood, like towards the end, and people had like sprinklers on, and I went through a sprinkler, and it was just a bad idea because I started to get nipple chafing going on.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. I'm not a big sweater, so like I never had.
Oh, nice.
I've never had to deal with much chafing.
That's nice.
But after that sprinkler run through, I was hurting.
Ouch.
But I came through the finish, feeling a lot of emotion. I don't often. I'm not a crier, and I wish I was able to cry more in life, but
me too.
It just doesn't come out much. But when I finished that race, and my friend's mom was also there, I remember, and she was asking me about it. And I'm like, I had sunglasses on. I'm like just fighting, like from the tears coming through, and yeah, I think it's just like I think like the times that I do cry in life are like when I'm like in a more vulnerable state, like I'm sick, or I'm depleted. Like I just ran 30 miles. Like you tap into this a little bit other form of consciousness. I think when you're exhausted like that, you've like wore off uh, an extra shell, and you're a little more exposed, and you feel a little bit more raw emotions. That's the way I kind of explain it in my head of like why I can cry in that situation. But it was also like I've wanted to run this distance for a long time. Like I had that New York City Marathon journey, which was pretty devastating. I didn't say that earlier. Like when I got injured 2 weeks before that race, like I was devastated. Like I had like been dreaming about that race for years, and I get injured 2 weeks before and can't do it. And it just felt like I was a letdown to everybody I told about the race, let down to myself. So when I crossed that finish line for that 50K, it was like it was redemption for all those years of dreaming about this distance, passing that distance and doing 50K.
Dang. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for sharing about the emotions you experienced. We talk about that in every episode, and I ask how you felt because everyone feels different, and I'm glad that was able to be such a redeeming moment for you and such a powerful moment. Yeah, and you hadn't run a marathon before, so this you showed that New York Marathon.
New York Marathon ain't nothing.
That's right. You did all the elevation gain too, and the extra distance. Anyway, that's sweet. And when you crossed, you mentioned feeling pretty tired, pretty exhausted. Maybe were you feeling pretty exhausted, or were you like, I still got some stuff in my tank? Or
Yeah, I think I was pretty done. Yeah, like
yeah,
it was I think still to this day, it was definitely my longest 50K in terms of time. Or no, sorry, that's not true. Um, the rut 50K, it was definitely my longest. But yeah, I think it was it was a big effort for me, not having done the mileage, the elevation, and all that. So I remember being pretty spent after crossing the finish line.
nice.
Yeah.
How was your
and the nipple chafing didn't help.
dude? It's brutal. I haven't had that, and I do sweat.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm gonna knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thigh. There's that thigh chafe though. That happens sometimes.
That'll get you.
How'd your friend do? Was he sticking with you? Did he finish later? Or
Yeah, he was just a little bit behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both stoked. Yeah, I got a rock. I can't remember. I think I placed in my age group, which is still the only race I think I've done to this day where I placed in my age group. So I think
nice.
I was like one of the few 20 something year olds in that
just
race.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it was a cool way to finish. But yeah, I got a rock. They give you a rock with like a bighorn like prints on there. I was like, also yeah, coming from road race where you get like this like fancy piece of hardware, it was super cool to be like, here's your rock.
Yeah. You can set that on your mantle, on your desk.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah, my first race, 9-mile race, I finished. I busted it really hard, like way harder than I had planned. and I got 5th place in my age group, and I was like, "What? I wasn't
Yes.
expecting this!" Like, wow, it was like it's a big confidence
Oh
booster
yeah,
to place.
that's amazing.
There's only 10 guys my age, I think, and so I was like in the top half.
That's
So
cool.
anyway, yeah, that feels good, huh?
Absolutely.
Sick. Well, thanks for sharing the story, man, of your first 50K ultra marathon. I'm gonna leave this to you. Is there another 50K ultra marathon race that um in like that happened after this that was, I don't know, that's near and dear to you, that was, or like was super hard, or like just special in some way that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean the one that I just mentioned, the
The
rut.
Rut? Where's that?
That's in Big Sky, Montana, um,
Okay.
and that's like, yeah, probably at least at the time when that first came on the scene, it was like the most gnarly sounding 50K. And a different friend reached out to me and like it was like, we should do this. I was like, all right, let's do it.
Brett's the
Um,
yes man.
yeah,
Ooh.
and yeah, so that was like, I think people said going into it, it's like more like a 50-mile time. And that's totally what it was for me. It was like,
Goodness.
took me 9 hours to do this 50K. So there's
Ooh.
10,000 feet of gain in the race.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, again, I can't remember like the altitude that you're at during it. But yeah, you summit a peak in there, and that was like a really cool piece of the race because there's it's the top of the ski resort, so the chairlift goes up there. So there's a
Yeah.
full-on aid station on the top of this mountain. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was super cool thing. Oh yeah, I remember going up on the way to this peak. It's just like a really kind of rocky, exposed section, and like in the middle of nowhere, there's like someone playing guitar, like just like cheering you on, like in the middle of this like long stretch. Um, so yeah, you just had some cool pieces like that during that race. But I mean, what stands out about it was just that it was so rugged and challenging. So much climbing, and yeah, I mean, talk about like feeling like kind of totally spent and raw and vulnerable. It was like that was the race. It's like at probably the last 5 miles are just like these rolling ups and downs that are just like destructive. Because like you're just 5 miles left, and then you have these like nice downhills, and then you're going up again, and you're going up again, up again. It's just like morally really challenging. Um, uh, yeah, yeah. But yeah, that one stands out to me as like it's just absolutely probably the most challenging race I've ever done.
Dang,
Yeah,
man. Would you do it again? Back
yeah,
then, like, would you have
yeah,
done it? Yeah.
yeah. I would do it again. Yeah, I would like to see what I could do now because that was still pretty early in um, my trail running days, and I remember the
Mm-hmm.
hardest part for me was after that peak. Um, Heading down, it was all boulder hopping basically, and I remember that was
Oh,
a really big challenge for me, like hopping from kind of boulder to boulder down this field. And I lost a lot of time on there. Now I feel like
yeah.
I could do much better on that.
Huh.
So yeah, I'm kind of
Got your skills
curious
up.
of how much better I could do at a race, and that's something. Yeah, I haven't done much like repeating a race. And that could be a cool way just to kind of get competitive with myself and see where I'm at versus 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
dude.
but the other
Yeah.
piece about that race was like it drew like the scene of like all the who's who in ultra running. So
Mm.
this was back when the Solomon team was Killian, um,
Journée.
yeah, Sage Canaday was there, um, Ricky, oh my God, I'm blanking on names right now. Ricky, who runs for,
I don't know.
oh, gee, it's like
Can't
having
help
a
you.
mind fire right now. Yeah, he was a solid runner for a while, but yeah, it was just
Yeah,
like all the stars were there, and it's
yeah,
like just so cool to be running the same race as these like people I've been following.
yeah. That is cool. Do you follow those? Do you follow like professional ultra running pretty closely? I don't personally, like, at all, but I know several people who do, and like maybe get inspiration from that. But I'm curious if, like, yeah, do you find that inspiring and helpful or fun? Yeah,
You know, I used to. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I think I'm like you now. I don't find myself gravitating there anywhere. And like, yeah, a lot of times as like the owner of a trail running brand, I'm like embarrassed that I'm not up up to speed more on everybody. But yeah, it's just not where I find inspiration anymore. I think for me, running is like this very like internal kind of experience, and I'm not so wrapped up in um, the competitive side of
Hmm.
the industry and of the sport. Um, but yeah, I mean,
I mean, dude,
it's
that fits your brand, and I love that. You know, you're sticking true to you and your brand of just the joy of running is the adventure and getting out there and moving your body. Yeah, talk to me now that we've talked about some of your ultra marathons or that happened in your life. Tell me about your running life today, like, and tell us why you haven't done an ultra marathon in a while. If there's a reason, like, where have you gravitated towards these days in your running career?
yeah. I mean, um, so yeah, I guess like from 2018 is when I've kind of like found this other zone in life, which was I bought a house that was like a total disaster.
Fun.
And yeah, I did want this. I wanted this experience of like fixing up an old house. Like for some reason that was like a big dream of mine. And when I found
Cool.
this house, I was like, oh yeah, I guess this
This
is
is it.
it. Like, it doesn't look like much, but I wanna do this. And I had done bits of like home repair and remodeling before that. Um, but never to this extent. And I had no concept of like how much time, how much energy it would take. So 2018, 2019, like was all about like getting this house livable. Um, and then it was like fixing the yard because it was like even the yard was a total disaster of like blackberry infestation.
Ooh,
And then after that, I was converting our basement into an apartment. Um, and now I'm done. I'm done with this house as of December 2023. Um,
oh, nice, dude.
so I have this like,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. And that, yeah. So it was like a 5 year thing. That I ran during all that, but I just didn't have the energy to dream about running. I didn't have the energy to be like, I want to do this race. I want to do that race. And that's finally starting to come back to me. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I just ran my first race in 3 years back in May, a trail half, um, and that got me pretty stoked to yeah just to get back into the swing of things again. And I don't have another race on my calendar right now, but I'm just starting to dream about it again. And it's an
Hmm.
exciting place to be to have the space again in my life to have running come back in. Um, and yeah, I'm excited for what's to come there.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. Yeah, thanks for being so real there, because totally other people are going to be feeling similar pains. Like, we have life we
Yeah.
got to live,
Yeah,
like
dude.
I'm working full time, and I do this podcast, and sometimes I'm like, why did I start this podcast? Because this podcast sort of takes me away in a way from actually running.
Totally.
Which,
Same thing
you're,
with my running business. Yep.
yeah,
Territory. Yep.
it's interesting. Like, I love it so much, and I love meeting people. So that's what feeds me in this podcast, is like I'm getting fed in a different way than running, by meeting people and talking to just cool people and having great
Yeah.
conversations. But yeah, it's interesting how, things can take you away from running, and that's okay, because like life goes in waves and phases. Like, this is my trail running phase, and I hope it sticks around.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And that's
I
that's the great thing about trail running, is like that it can stick around, for life. A lot of sports are really hard on the body, and you can't always keep doing it. But trail running, it seems that you could do it for a long time, and
well
that's
said.
my hope as well.
Yeah, that's super well said. You don't see many sports with 80-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
running
Mm-hmm.
ultramarathons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
There's
mean, yeah,
no,
like
or
yes,
there's
cycling
no,
and running.
yeah,
I feel like are two sports that you often see older people still doing, and that
yeah,
gives us hope.
yeah, seriously. Because, yeah, when you're, if you're playing basketball professionally, you clock out when you're like 40 or
Right, right.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
You'd be clocking out. Sorry,
yeah,
Brett.
yeah. No
You're
more
off the
basketball.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, so during that time with the house, you were still running, you said,
Hmm.
like just whenever it fit in between work and
Yeah,
fixing the house.
whenever I could muster up the
The
energy. Yeah,
energy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
It
you
was just
kept it.
a lot of mental and physical energy doing
Totally.
housework. Doing whatever it is. Just um,
Planning,
exactly,
executing.
exactly. Yeah, when you don't know what you're doing, there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of planning, and then
YouTube.
execution. Yeah, yeah, dude. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, is that pretty much how you, side tangent, is that how you did a lot of your work? YouTube,
I would say
university?
95%. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and it worked
Awesome.
out.
Yeah,
Like
that's
a lot
crazy.
of things I had to do twice. Like I screwed it up the first time, took it apart, did it again. But that's how you learn, right?
Yes, yes, it is. That's sick, dude. And yeah, in your future here, you said, you're looking at doing more races and getting back into running more. But aside from like races, are you finding that you're just hitting the trail more now that the house is in the past? Like, you're just
Yeah,
out more, maybe. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a race. You have more like non-official, non-race adventures planned too, or
yeah. I'm
thoughts?
just getting out with friends more again on the trails, and like last night. One of my favorite things is just running in the evening during summers, just because like we have the extra light, and that it brings me back to when I was running my early days in high school. We do a lot of our cross country training in summer evenings. One, it's the cool, like one of the coolest part of the day is to just run later in the evening. But it's just a beautiful time of day, like to run like close to sunset. There's just that like summer glow, um, and it's late, but it's still sunny, and it's just like that. I don't know, that summery feeling that um, you miss sometimes as an adult because you're doing adult stuff. When you're a kid, you're outside at summer nights. Um, and it's just easy to miss some things as an adult. So like when you get outside on a summer night, it just feels right. So that's like, yeah, last night I was running in the evening. It just makes you feel so much better about everything. You just come home and you're just like, I feel so much happier than I did before I left. And yeah, it's endorphins, but it's also just, just being outside and connecting with a little bit of nature and the time of day and all that. But yeah, so just running more with friends. I'm doing a friend's turning 50. He's running 30 miles on the Wildwood Trail right here in Forest Park in Portland. So I'm going to be joining in for that. So that'll be my first time doing 30 miles in a long while. But after that, yeah, hopefully just getting on some more adventures. I mean, there's a lot to do in the Northwest here in terms of like adventuring, things that have been on my list for a while. So like running around our mountains, our volcanoes. So like running around Mount Hood, it's about a 40-mile round trip. Running around St. Helens is like a 30-mile round trip. So they're kind of like the to-dos in the Northwest. And so that's kind of like what's next on my radar.
Oh, that's sick, dude. I have a buddy that I work with that just climbed Mount Hood.
Oh yeah.
That's like next level stuff.
Yeah.
He climbed up there with his skis on his back.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And skied down and then hiked back out. But man, that
was actually part of my 50K, my first 50K training. I did a mountaineering course with an organization here called the Mazamas in Portland. And I did that. I did the Mount Hood climb like maybe a month before the 50K. So that was some good elevation training, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Good job. Dang. How much climbing is there in that? In
Mount Hood climb, I think is, I think you start around 6,000 feet. So you're basically starting at the ski resort and you're climbing up to 11. So I think it's about a 5,000 and change foot climb.
Dang. Yeah. That's crazy. It's really cool though. The ice axes at the top that you got to do are pretty crazy too. I don't know if that's how it always is, but yeah, my buddy was showing me pictures. Yeah. Dang. Super cool. Okay. I meant to ask too, if you were to go back to that time when you were doing the house, would you do it again? Even though you had to sacrifice running and sacrifice some things in your life, would you do the house again?
I would do it a little differently. I would probably hire more stuff out. Yeah, I think my personality is like slightly obsessive, I guess, in terms of like I won't want to do it myself, and to a fault. Where I think I have to know when to bring in the help. But yeah, it's a give and take, you know.
Yeah, but no major regret there.
No, not at all.
Good. That's cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing everything, Brett. Your story of your 50Ks and what you're doing these days, and for being real. It's important to be real and share what life really brings, like the imbalance of fixing up a home and not being able to run so much. Like that's just real. But
absolutely, yeah, it's something that's not really talked about in the running community very much. Of like the times that you couldn't run, you know, whether it's usually it's like injury, but it's also like life stuff. It's also mental stuff. Like we come into roadblocks in a variety of different ways, and it doesn't mean we're not a runner anymore. It just means we're not running right now.
Well said. Yeah, you may be a mom and you just have a kid, and now you can't run, or you can't run while you're pregnant. Probably shouldn't. You have to stop running. for a time. I lost my job not too long ago, got a new job. That was a hard time to be running, but also it was a good time to be running in another way.
Yep.
I had time, so I decided to keep running instead of stop running. But there are other people who maybe would shut down and not run. And that's okay too. Like, crap happens.
Right. Absolutely.
Crap happens. But you can come back. Yeah, if that's you listening, don't worry about it. Come back when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, what final advice, tip, thoughts would you leave those trail runners that are listening today? Most folks on here are probably, looking to get into their first ultramarathon soon, or maybe they're already signed up. But what final advice would you leave those folks?
Running is a beautiful thing. I think it does a lot for us especially when it's done in a way that is meant for us individually. So I think we often can get sucked into running, the way we're seeing the pros do it or how other people are doing it. And I think the most important thing is like you run how you want to run. You run the distance you want to run, you run the speed you want to run, and don't let anyone influence you to kind of turn it into something that's not quite right for you. Do it at your way. Because ultimately running is like, it's for us to feel good. So.
Well said, man. Thanks for coming on, Brett. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for everything. Thanks for the story. Again, Brett is the owner of Territory Runco, fantastic trail running brand that I personally love. That's why I connected with him. And he's doing a giveaway, 5 different hats, 5 winners. So check out the show notes below for that link for the giveaway to enter. And I'll also drop his website link in there, and you can maybe even, if Brett wants, his Strava, or if there's any other ways you want people to follow you, those links will be in the show notes. But thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks again, Brett.
Thanks, Brendan.
Hey, your host Brendan here. I just wanted to thank you personally for listening to today's episode. As someone preparing for my own first ultramarathon, I've found these conversations to be super valuable, and I hope they are for you as well. Whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or somewhere else, make sure to follow or subscribe so you know when the next episode comes out. Also, make sure you check out the show notes of this episode. There's a link to sign up for the Ordinary to Ultra email newsletter, to join our Facebook and Strava groups where you can meet other people striving to run their first ultra marathon, and see any links that our guests may have provided as well. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next episode.